Every year, residents of Alaska eagerly await one of the state's most anticipated financial events, the distribution of the Alaska Permanent Fund Dividend PFD. This annual payment, often seen as a small but meaningful reward for simply living in the last frontier, is more than just a seasonal boost. It's a unique representation of Alaska's deep-rooted philosophy that the wealth derived from the state's natural resources should be shared among all Alaskans. In 2025, this tradition continues with the official PFD amount, set at $1,072 per eligible resident, drawing attention and excitement across the state. But behind this figure lies a compelling story of prudent financial planning, oil revenue management, and the vision of long-term prosperity for current and future generations. A fund born from vision and prudence. The Alaska Permanent Fund was established in 1976 following a constitutional amendment approved by voters. At the time, the state was experiencing an economic boom due to burgeoning oil revenues from the North Slope. Rather than spending every dollar as it came in, Alaska's leaders made a visionary decision to set aside a portion of this newfound wealth for the future. Thus, the Permanent Fund was born, a sovereign wealth fund that invests oil royalties into a diversified portfolio. Today, it is managed by the Alaska Permanent Fund Corporation, APFC, which oversees investments in domestic and international markets, including stocks, bonds, real estate, private equity, and infrastructure projects. The goal? To generate stable, long-term income that benefits both the government and the people of Alaska. How the PFD is calculated? Each year, a portion of the earnings generated by the Permanent Fund is allocated for distribution. By law, approximately 5% of the fund's average market value over the previous 5 years is drawn annually. Half of this amount supports government operations, funding public services, infrastructure, and other priorities, while the other half is distributed directly to eligible Alaskans in the form of the PFD. The amount of the dividend varies annually depending on market performance, legislative priorities, and overall economic conditions. For 2025, the PFD has been set at $1,072, a figure that reflects solid investment returns and a balanced fiscal strategy. It's a sign of both economic stability and continued stewardship by the APFC. Who qualifies for the 2025 PFD? Not every Alaskan automatically receives the PFD. Eligibility for the 2025 dividend is based primarily on residency and conduct in 2023, as well as application completion during the official filing period. You must have been a full-time Alaska resident throughout all of 2023, from January 1st to December 31st. You must have demonstrated an intent to remain a resident of the state indefinitely. You must have been physically present in Alaska for the majority of the year, with certain allowable exceptions, e.g., military service, college attendance, medical treatment out of state, provided appropriate documentation is submitted. Applicants with felony convictions or those incarcerated for most of the year may be disqualified. Failing to report disqualifying circumstances, like a criminal conviction, can lead to loss of eligibility or even repayment demands. In addition to meeting these criteria, applicants must complete the official application to receive the dividend, even lifelong residents. The application process, key dates and details. The application window for the 2025 PFD runs from February 1st through March 31st, 2025, with a short grace period extending into early April. This window is strictly enforced and no late applications are accepted except under very limited and well-documented hardship situations. Applications can be submitted in 2 ways: online via the Alaska Department of Revenue's PFD portal, the preferred and most efficient method. Paper applications, which can be requested and submitted by mail, though they require extra attention to detail. Whichever method is chosen, it's critical to ensure all personal information, especially residency verification, identification details, and direct deposit banking info, is accurate and up to date. Mistakes or omissions are among the most common reasons for denied or delayed payments. How and when payments are made. The disbursement of PFD funds generally begins in January 2025, though the exact dates are typically announced later in the year. Applicants who opted for direct deposit often receive their payments earlier, sometimes in the first week of the payout schedule, while those waiting for paper checks may experience delays of several days or even weeks. To ensure you receive your payment promptly, double-check your direct deposit information before submitting your application. Update your mailing address if you've moved recently or plan to move. Monitor the Department of Revenue's announcements for any updates on payment timing. Is the PFD taxable? One common misconception about the PFD is that it's entirely tax-free. While Alaska imposes no state income tax on the dividend, the federal government does treat it as taxable income. That means your $1,072 will need to be reported on your federal tax return. Depending on your household's total income, this may slightly increase your federal tax liability or reduce your refund. For families with multiple recipients, the total household income can rise significantly, potentially impacting eligibility for federal programs, tax credits, or subsidies. If you're uncertain how to handle this on your taxes, it's wise to consult with a tax professional or use tax software that accounts for Alaska's PFD rules. Don't miss the deadline. Perhaps the most critical aspect of the PFD process is the application deadline. Missing the March 31st deadline or the limited extension into early April will forfeit your dividend for the year. There are no general exceptions, and appeals are only granted in very rare and extraordinary circumstances. To avoid missing out, set calendar reminders or alarms. Sign up for email notifications from the Department of Revenue. Apply early in the filing period to allow time for corrections if needed. A boost for families and the economy. While $1,072 may not be life-changing money for everyone, for many Alaska households, it can make a big difference. Families often use their dividends for essential expenses, school supplies, winter clothing, heating bills, home repairs, or simply saving for the future. Local businesses also benefit during dividend season, seeing a surge in sales and service requests as extra funds circulate in the economy. In this way, the PFD serves as a mini economic stimulus, reinforcing local commerce and creating a ripple effect across communities. A unique model of shared prosperity. Perhaps what makes the Alaska Permanent Fund dividend truly unique is the philosophy behind it. In Alaska, residents are more than taxpayers. They are stakeholders in the state's natural resources. This model, where oil wealth is distributed directly to the people, stands in contrast to how resource revenues are managed elsewhere in the U.S., where profits typically flow into government coffers or corporate hands. This system gives Alaskans a tangible connection to the land and a voice in how its wealth is used, encouraging broader public engagement in discussions about resource management, fiscal responsibility, and future investment strategies. Looking ahead, as Alaska continues to navigate economic uncertainties, debates about the future of the PFD remain ongoing. Some advocate for increasing the portion directed toward public services like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Others argue that preserving the full dividend payout is essential to maintaining its original purpose, empowering individual Alaskans, and ensuring broad-based economic inclusion. Whatever the outcome of these debates, one thing is clear: the Alaska Permanent Fund dividend has become much more than a yearly payment. It's a symbol of community, stewardship, and shared opportunity. Final thoughts. The 2025 Alaska Permanent Fund dividend of $1,072 is more than just a check. It's your share in the state's prosperity. If you were a resident of Alaska for all of 2023, intend to remain so, and meet the eligibility requirements, be sure to apply between February 1st and early April 2025. Opt for direct deposit if you want the funds quickly, and don't forget to report it on your federal taxes. Most importantly, make applying a priority, because missing out means forfeiting this valuable benefit entirely. By staying informed, organized, and engaged, you can continue to benefit from this remarkable program that reflects Alaska's commitment to its people, today and for generations to come.